Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my wrap up on my current round of 5-star TBR predictions and then my next round of guesses for 5-star TBR predictions. So I've done these before. These were inspired by Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings. I will link her video that I originally saw this on down below, although I think she's done way more of them now. And I will also link my other ones that I've done down below in case you're curious how good I am at guessing this. And this was also voted on by my Patreon supporters, so every month my Patreon supporters get to vote in a poll for a video topic I will do that month. So if you are interested in contributing to my content in that way, I will link my Patreon on the screen. So this is kind of an interesting wrap up and new guesses round because a lot of the books that I guessed in my last round I didn't end up reading for one reason or another. But I wanted to do a new round because I do find this like 5-star TBR to be really motivating. I tend to want to get those books read. And if you guys remember, because I keep referencing it, the great anxiety flare of 2019 happened, and a lot of the books on this became kind of either unreadable for me or just things that I don't want to push myself with because they're a lot of like darker fall type fantasy. And I can still read dark fantasy. So when I talk about this, a lot of people start being like, okay, well, don't read this book, don't read this book. And I'm like, I know what I can and can't read. And me just saying like dark fantasy is sort of like an umbrella term because there's a lot of dark fantasy that I can read, and there's a lot of stuff I can read now that I couldn't read back in the fall. But just like what I want to read, what I think is going to be 5 stars has changed. And that's why I'm updating this. So I don't really need you guys to be telling me like, oh, be careful of this book, because I know what books to be careful of because I do a lot of research when I'm reading as far as just like some of these darker themes. So yeah, there's a lot of books people were like, you're gonna have a problem with this book. And then I read it and I'm like, I don't have a problem with this because my triggers are so specific. So anyway, that's long and rambly, but let's get into what my last round of predictions were. So first we had Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I don't believe this was even out when I put this on my 5-star TBR, and this is a book that I kind of no longer think will be 5 stars, but I'm also not going to read it anytime soon, and I'm not even sure if I'm going to read it ever. So this book has a lot of paranormal, scary, horror type elements, and I can read a lot of dark fantasy and even read some like paranormal stuff, but this seems pretty constant in this book. And another series that I'll never read is The Diviners by Libba Bray, and this feels very close to that in a lot of ways. I don't know if I'll ever be able to read this just because I don't like that level of horror in my books. Even when I'm not having anxiety flare, I just don't like it. I just don't enjoy it. And this book has been very polarizing for a lot of people, and people either loved it or hated it, so I'm very unsure now if this is actually going to be a 5-star read for me. So since I don't know when I'm going to read this, I'm taking this off my like 5-star TBR prediction. I'll probably read this at some point. I just don't know when, because I don't want to force myself to read it. I want to read it when I want to, and right now, based on the paranormal dark material and the fact that it's gotten like such polarizing reviews, like I'm not super excited to pick it up, so I want to pick it up when I actually want to pick it up. My second prediction was We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal, and this was a 4-star read. So I have done a review on this. I will link that on the screen. I did say in my last video, and this continues to be true, that these 5-star TBR predictions are almost more like 4 and 5-star TBR predictions because 5 stars happen so rarely for me that it's really hard to say like these 5 books are going to be 5-star reads for me because they're probably not going to be. So this is close to being like an accurate pick because it was 4 stars and I did really enjoy it. My next guess was Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This was also a 4-star read. Very fun. I would say this is less of an accurate guess because it's a 4-star for like the level of fun and stuff, but it's not like a new favorite. I mean, neither was We Hunt the Flame, but it's close to being a new favorite. So like this is a little bit like lower on the 4-star scale than higher. My fourth guess was The Devouring Grey by Christina Lynn Herman. This is a book that I still plan on reading, just I don't know when I'm going to get to it. I didn't want to read it during the Great Anxiety Flare, but this is also a more like fall kind of book. I almost feel like it's going to be like a late summery type book. So I'm taking it off less because I don't think I'm going to enjoy it, because I think I still will. I don't think it'll be 5 stars because I haven't heard a lot of reviews that are like that raving for it, but it's still a book that I think I'll probably enjoy. It's just not one that I plan on reading soon, so I wanted to put some more selections up on the 5-star TBR board. Lastly, we have The Shadowed Sun by N.K. Jemisin. This is my bad because I did plan on reading this during Tome Topple, which just finished, and I just wasn't able to get to it. I still do feel like it's going to be a 5 to 4 star, probably more like a 4-star read because the first book was a 4-star read. And this is one I do plan on hoping to get to soon, but I wanted to do this video this month and put some new picks up there. But for this next round, and the reason I wanted to do this is because a lot of these books I plan on reading soon, so I wanted to get this 5-star like predictions video up before I read them. One of these I actually have already read, but I made the prediction before I read it, so I'm not going to actually talk about my feelings about it because you don't even know my feelings yet if you're watching this when it comes out, because I haven't posted my review and I haven't talked about it on my channel yet. So this video has been in the making for a while and I'm starting to read these books, so I want to be able to tell you that I'm predicting they're going to be 5-star favorites now. So my first guess was The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in the Stormlight Archives epic fantasy series. It's going to be 10 books. It's ridiculous. They're all over 1,000 pages, and this is a book that I did just read for Tome Topple. So I already have one down. You don't know my thoughts on it yet, but I do have one down. My second prediction is Realm of Ash by Tasha Suri. This one I'm like almost 100% sure is going to be a 5-star. I know most of these I'm saying like 4 to 5-star. This I feel like has to be a 5-star. I read Empire of Sand at the very end of last year and it was a absolute new favorite like immediately, and I just can't imagine not loving this one as well. So this one I will be stunned if it's not 5 stars. This is the second book, a companion story within this world, The Books of Amba, and this takes place I think like 15 or 20 years after the events of the first book, and it follows the main characters of the first book's sister, and it has all the ramifications of what happened in the first book, and it's a desert fantasy with like living and sleeping gods and magic and all this good stuff. So I just feel like it's gonna be good, and the romance was like top notch in the first book, so I can't imagine that I'm not going to love it in this one as well. Then we have a shift in gears genre-wise, and we have The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. This is a British contemporary romance, and it's an adult contemporary romance, and it follows 2 characters who are sharing a flat or an apartment. One of them works night shift and one of them works day shift, and they only need the apartment for a certain time. So it's kind of bed sharing, except for they're not in the bed at the same time, but they eventually will be. And I've just heard really good things, and a lot of people, when I talk about tropes I don't like or tropes I do like in romance, they're like, read The Flatshare. So I definitely plan on reading this ASAP. I'm probably gonna try to pick this up over my vacation, which is the very beginning of March, because I just feel like I'm gonna just read a ton of romance on the beach, so I can't wait for this. Then we have The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. This is an adult literary fiction, but probably has something speculative about it. I just don't know. I've read the synopsis, but with Emily St. John Mandel, I just kind of like going into her books blind. She is the author of Station 11, which is a book I put off reading for so long, and then when I read it, I loved it, and it was 5 stars, and it was just great, and it's a book that's really hard to kind of explain to people to get them to read it, so I feel like this will be very similar, and I just think I'm going to love it, because her writing is great, and her stories are great, and her craft is great, and her characters and their character interactions are great, and I really loved Station 11, so I feel I'm going to love this. And lastly, we have The Winter of the Witch by Catherine Arden. This is a book that, see, I've already started. So again, I wanted to get this up because there's already one book that I finished and one book that I've already started. So I just want to talk about my predictions before they're gone off my TBR. But this is the third and final book in the Winter Night trilogy, which is an adult fantasy series that's based on Slavic folklore and mythology. And I just think it's going to be breathtaking. This is actually a book that I have wanted to read. I knew I was going to read it this month, but I keep just reading it in like small little chunks because I'm so nervous about these characters and how this is going to end and if everything's going to be fine. But I hope it's going to be a 5-star read for me. But that is it for this current round of 5-star TBR predictions. So comment down below and let me know if you agree that you think I'm going to really enjoy these books or not. Again, no spoilers because I haven't read them. Well, I've read one, but you know, no spoilers. And let me know down below what you think is a book on your TBR that's going to be 5 stars for you. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.